Today we will be discussing about a step-by-step guide to writing a quality manuscript. We are expecting to have several parts, so this is part 1. All right, move forward. I would like to show you something. Take a look at this. Here we can see that a pencil, scrambled paper, and a diary. And this is very familiar thing. All of us, we have this experience that we would like to write something, but finally it becomes like this because we didn't know the direction of writing, or perhaps the thing we would like to write, it does not really reflect inside our writing. So this is a common phenomenon for all of us somehow, that we may have to face some difficulties in writing that if we don't know or it is not familiar with it. Okay, so the question arises, if we would like to write something like step by step to write the manuscript, the quality manuscript. So how to do it? First of all, we need to know the direction, right? To know that, we have the first question in our mind, that where to target your manuscript. That means, where are the possibilities that we can publish our manuscript? We have many options. We have journals, we have conferences, we have books, and we can even write chapters. Let's say conferences. Conferences are actually is a sort of stepping stone to publish into the journal. By participating in the conferences, sometimes they have ranked or indexed conferences like Scopus indexed conferences. By participating in those conferences, we can modify our existing papers. We call it conference proceeding. And after modification, because in a conference, this is an opportunity for us to have some of the ideas, feedback, comments to improve our existing proceeding, existing paper, existing manuscript. And after accommodating all of those valuable comments and feedback, we can improve our paper and we can target to a good journal. Same goes to the book chapters, or sometime the book, yes, they sometimes offer for the book authorship or even editorship. We're not going to discuss those sort of things today. Maybe some other forum, if we have the opportunity to discuss together, we can discuss in detail. But today, we'd like to put emphasis on journals, focusing on quality Scopus papers. To move forward, I would like to emphasize on another part. It's called a good journal or conference or book and even book chapter. They tend to have rigorous review process and long-term review. Okay. Yes, in terms of timing, we cannot say that sometime we need to have like 1 month or 6 months or 1 year. It depends on many factors, but usually we have to calculate. It may take a little bit longer time than expected. How a manuscript is different than your thesis. This part is very important. I'm going to show you one table. This is only an idea. I know many of you know about it, but those who are still wondering that how to write a manuscript from the thesis or part of a thesis, let us discuss a little bit of differences between these two things, thesis and manuscript. As you show in the slide, thesis is something like academic requirement to get PhD, to get masters, all right? But manuscript, yes, this is also an academic requirement, but directly not associated with the university, but university's requirement is to publish a certain number of papers. So this should meet the requirement or standard of the journal. So this is slightly different. If you have a good thesis, if you have a good supervisory committee, you get the feedback and you are motivated enough to do it perfectly, I don't think so. This will be a problem, especially how to meet the university requirement, at the same time, the output to publish to a journal. Second one, reviewed as selected committee members, which is called your supervisory committee. They will be focusing on your work, especially thesis or research. However, another committee, we call it editorial board and blind reviewer. They are for manuscript, to check the standard of your manuscript. Number third, called chapters. Yes, please take note. This is a common error. This error quite often we observe in your journal, your drafted manuscript, okay? Even though in the thesis, we name them as chapter 1 is introduction, chapter 2 is literature review, chapter 3, research methodology, and so on. However, in manuscript, we never use chapter, we use sections. So please take note, do not ever use the word called chapter inside your manuscript. All right? So this is a silly mistake actually if we do so. Sometimes what happens is we copy from our thesis certain part and maybe we should rephrase those, but somehow we overlook the word called chapter. So if your manuscript consists of this word called chapter, definitely you're going to get a comment from the reviewers committee. All right. Number 4, we know that our thesis is lengthy and there is no word limit, but still for your information, thesis in PhD standard, we expect something like 200 to 300 pages. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, if you are from business management, HR, finance, economy, it is something like 200 to 300 pages. But manuscript, there is a word limit. Journal to journal, they limit the words. Sometimes they ask for 5,000 words. Sometimes they're okay with 7,000 words. Sometimes they say at least 4,000 words. Or even sometimes they can say like this, maximum 8,000 words. So we have to deal with the word limitation. All right. I will discuss later on the slide that how this word limit we can plan correctly. Another one is called table of contents. Please take note, in thesis, yes, we have table of contents. That day, we received one of the drafted manuscript that student, he or she, wanted to submit to a journal, and surprisingly, we supervisory committee that day found that that student put table of contents inside the manuscript, which is quite unlikely. Okay, table of contents we do not put inside our manuscript. Please take note. Rather, we format accordingly to intended journal where we're going to submit for the publication. Next one is called lengthy research literature. Yes, we know that. We will discuss later on. And all of us, we know literature review chapter for the thesis. This is an extensive chapter where we write empirical review and theoretical review, starting from the definitions, starting from the relationships, starting from the relationships between variables. So we write in detail. Sometimes we need to refer some of the articles or journals or the citations that may not directly help our argument, but that is an opening of our establishing of the platform. However, please take note, manuscript, we don't do that. We write precise literature. This is not extensive. You know why? Because there is something called word limit, right? So for that perspective, what do? We keep very precise and targeted citations that can create our argument. Other than that, we have description and copies of the tools of the use for the thesis, but manuscript, I think it is understood by now, we only use the essential information. Leading to this, the last one called all findings are presented inside the thesis. However, for the manuscript, only selected findings are presented. Let me give an example. those who have used SPSS or MOS or PLS, you see, in the thesis, we start from CFA, designing one by one, amend one by one, in detail we write until measurement model and structural model. So we present every single detail that what we have done. However, for the manuscript, we don't do so. We may need to present directly a measurement model and a structural model, or sometimes we may not present those sort of things. Instead, what we do, we just present the numbers or values like RMACA, CFI, GFI, AGFI, NFI, those sort of things. So only selected findings we present inside our manuscript, and we have to know what are those. Not everything is equally important for the manuscript. Okay, now turning thesis to a journal, we may discuss several things here. First of all, we have to identify the appropriate target journal. There are many cases it happens. Failing to target an appropriate journal, they may ask you for a desk rejection. So this is very important for us to identify which journal will be appropriate for our manuscript. Secondly, shorten the length of your thesis. Many people, they think like shorten the length of the thesis is a kind of manuscript, quality manuscript. Yes, somehow yes, but make sure that only shortening the length does not come up with a good output called a quality journal. Okay, so we have to be very, very careful that how to short the length of our thesis to change into the article, quality article. Sometimes we have to come up with several ideas, like we can treat our thesis as a separate work. Okay, yes, this is something like raw material for your article, but they are not exactly the same thing that you are giving an output called journal article or manuscript. Then yes, we need to paraphrase and express the same ideas but in different way. Please take note, we have to paraphrase somehow. We cannot simply copy paste our thesis because the expression is different. So we have to paraphrase and express, yes, the same ideas but in different ways. Sometimes we have to do a repurpose part, or we have to take a certain part from the thesis, and that certain part can express as a complete manuscript. But at the same time, we have to highlight the key point of what our reader understand from the writing, whether it is compatible enough. All right. So that's how we can pay attention while writing a journal article or quality manuscript. Third one is called reformat the introduction as an abstract. We can do that. Later slide, we will discuss in detail, followed by modify the introduction. Okay, now I would like to discuss something here. Number 4, it is called modifying the introduction. In our thesis introduction chapter, we have many things, many subsections. We have background of the study, we have problem statements, then we have research objectives and questions, we have significance of the study, a lot of things. We have to take all of those ideas, we have to filter those, and we have to write maximum 1 page. Maximum 1 page that consists of background, consists of problem statements. We have to be really very smart that how can we take the entire idea and modify as an introduction section inside our journal article. In the thesis, we should do objectives like objective 1, objective 2, objective 3, like this. We call it specific objectives. Rather, we should put a general objective in one sentence, not only in one sentence, but we can put it as the main aim of the research. Next one called tighten the method sections. This is very important. We need to know how to write the research methodology section inside our journal article, but we call it materials and methods sometime. Okay, this part we need to know how to keep the method section very precise, and there is no need for an extensive discussion about the research approach. We don't have to go research paradigm, research approach, this and that. No, we have to go straight away that how the previously published paper, at least 3 to 5, from the targeted journal examples, we can refer to their journal, that I mean where we are targeting to submit. We can refer to their journal, we can get an idea that how they prefer this section to be written. This is the smartest way that we can modify our materials and method or research methodology section inside our manuscript. Next one, we call it report the main findings in result. In this case, again, I repeat, please present the findings relevant to the aim or research general objective that you have presented. Do not simply present extensive things which are not needed, because we have word limitation here. So we have to pick up very carefully, and we have to know if we conduct an exploratory analysis, we have to provide the concise statements of the findings. So we need to present only the precise and concise things of the findings, and we need to ensure the discussion is clear and concise. This is very important. Many of us, we simply write the discussion section without understanding, but we should know that many of the journals, they prefer an outcome which is called findings that can match with our proposed solution of the problem statement of the study. So we have to know about that. All right. So that is how we can ensure the discussion is clear and concise. And finally, what we can say, we can limit the number of references. This limit the number of references is very important because this is a manuscript. Yes, in the thesis, we can present in detail 200, 300 references, but here we don't have that opportunity. So we have to be very focused and efficient how to limit the number of references. In this part, please pay attention on this. You can take the references from the journals, their recent publications related to your work. Take those references. That's how we can play the trick and make the journal's editorial board or reviewers happy. So this is another technique that how we can limit the number of references, but it is efficient. Now, the types of journals or type of journal articles. Let me explain this part. Many of us, we are still confused at what are those. First one we call original research. This original research is basically, this is the most common type research or journal manuscript used to publish for full report of the data. This is a form of research that consists all 5 sections with your findings as well. All right. The paper that we used to read from Emerald or other database, Scopus or ISI, nowadays we call it no longer ISI, we call it Web of Science or ABDC journals or other standard. Usually they are original research, that means a complete research, but this is not everything. Beside that, we can publish this as well, which is called short report or letters. Short report or letters, they basically communicate the brief report of the data from original research that editors believe will be interesting to many researchers, and that will likely be something like COVID-19, for example. This is a hot topic, a burning issue right now. If we have some of the data, recent trend or something, even by utilizing that part, we can even publish the research article. We don't have to come all the things. You see, you know why? Some issues, I can tell you, if you check last couple of months ago, let's say in February or March, you can find a lot of short reports or letters sort of articles in the internet, and most of them have written COVID-19 issue, and it was a common channel for a researcher to publish quite easily without any hassle if you used to write COVID-19 issue a couple of months back. But now, yes, over the time, people are getting more data. So it is a little difficult, but still it is comparatively easy if you take this sort of analysis, sort of data. Okay. The third one called review article. You can write also a review article if you are at the initial stage of your research, especially when you are doing literature review section. Writing chapter 2, during that time, you can do a publication. We call it review article. And review article basically is a kind of things that often researchers, they begin their background of their work or articles or collections of the work. So the variable identifications, the relationships between and among variables. During that stage, we read a lot of papers, lot of articles from the internet or any other sources. Utilizing that, you can do a meta-analysis article, which is called review article. Those who are still confused about review article, you can refer to any research methodology book. You can know that what are those. But this is a very good opportunity for those who are at the literature review stage in chapter 2 of your thesis. Doing so, you can kill two birds in one stone. So doing literature review, at the same time, you are coming up with a review article, okay? And you can publish even to a Scopus journal of this review sort of article. Next one is called case study. Yes, case study may not be suitable for those who are intending to continue with quantitative research. No, this is only for qualitative research. But still, those who are doing literature review part, maybe you are doing something called focus group discussion to validating your variables. You can take this opportunity and you can turn your paper to a case study paper. Case study paper also is quite interesting these days. Same goes to the last one called methodologies or method-based paper. You may be wondering that how come only on methodologies or method-based can be published? Yes, it can be published. That means when you are developing your chapter 3, even before going to proposal defense, just like review article, chapter 2, methodology, chapter 3, when you are doing it, at the same time, you can develop that. You can develop these sort of articles that present a new experimental method, test, or maybe procedures. So you can even publish this part if your research is interesting, those who are from IT, simulation, or maybe engineering or science. This kind of paper you can target, and it is quite easy to publish. Not only that, it actually provides the new researchers ideas that how the real work can be done, and eventually you can come up with an original article. Now, structuring the manuscript. This part, remember this, a well-structured article helps reader finds the information as it is written in the sticky note. So actually, it depends on the argument, how you communicate, and how an author present their work. And a structured article actually gives a logical flow of the content. This will give a map, an idea, a structure, that how to proceed. Just like the next slide, structure of a research paper. I think we have presented before, but again, we treat this is another forum, new forum, just to give you an idea that how we can structurize of a research paper, like title, how many words, abstract, how many words. So these are the ideas we can proceed with a good structure of our article or quality manuscript that you are talking for it. Now, titles, abstract, and paper. Mind it, title is very, very important. As you see in the slide, everybody expects it will be precise, accurate, and something called discoverable, something exciting, something engaging, right? But most of the cases, our article may get rejected due to the things that it is shown in right-hand side. And another thing I would like to say, title basically draws the structure of an abstract, and abstract eventually come up with the paper. You may hear at many conferences, they ask for an abstract first, instead of asking for the full paper. Once abstract is accepted, then they require for the full paper. You know why? Because abstract basically shows the quality of your work, and it draws the line of your paper. So writing a title and writing the abstract correctly is very, very important. Just now I'm going to show you this one. The title, as I told you, the title of your manuscript is usually the first introduction that attracts who you are and what you are talking about. Who you are means your research. All right. So second one, therefore, we have to be very much cautious that we can grab the attention, and this attention of the reader, we can grab it accurately. How to do that? We have to rely on searching. Similar thing, let's say job satisfaction, employee engagement, these sort of things, we can pay attention on other search engine that we can find a similar work, so that we can find out the trained, research trained, or the recent trained of the research. We can have the idea that what is the gap, because publishable work should be something like there should be a gap and there is a need. All of us, we know about that. And it usually, because usually they search for the database through and other things, authors list. Yes, I think this is understood. The next one is called, it is important. Yes, we have discussed about that. Now, title of the manuscript, make sure that it conveys the main topic of the study. Again, I would like to remind you, title and topic, they are not the same thing. Even though we use them interchangeably, but in actual fact, the topic and title, they are not the same thing. Topic is basically a little broader concept, and title is exact thing that you are doing, which is written on top of your manuscript. Please highlight the importance of research. This is very important, you know, because editorial board, before passing it to the reviewers, they will be checking these things, that whether the title of the manuscript highlights the important factors or not. So we have to be very concise. That can attract readers. So I'm not going to read from the slide. We already have discussed and we know about that, but I'm going to show you at a glance of this. You see left hand side, this is an example of International Journal of Data and Network Science. This is the journal, and conceptualizing the effects of transfer pricing law on transfer pricing decision making of FDI enterprises in Vietnam. So this is the research title, and followed by the authors and affiliation. So here, if you take a look at right hand side, there are several things like title. We can use 3W method. That means what, who, and where. What means the focus area of this research. What is the focus area? And who means who are suffering into this. Are they people? Are they group? Are they firm? Is it individual? Is it an industry or sector? And where means we can see that it's Vietnam. So if you have these components called 3W components in your title, usually we consider this is a good research title, followed by author's name and affiliation, and abstract we have discussed, and keyword we know what are those. Just like this, abstract, those are the things usually we discuss in the abstract. We talk about a little bit of background that reflects on the purpose of summarizing the research. Then we discuss about methods, we discuss about result, we discuss about conclusion. And conclusion basically discuss about originality, contributions, limitations. Those all we consider under conclusion. And after writing this, right hand side, if you see that structured versus unstructured abstracts. Just give an example. Those who have experience in Emerald article, they usually follow the structured abstract. Just like we have shown here in the slide, the breakdowns are the background, method, result, conclusion. So those are the breakdown. We have to break it down like this, just like Emerald articles. But sometimes they require an unstructured abstract. So if it is unstructured abstract, keeping the same components, but we have to write in single paragraph. We call it unstructured abstract, but still, please take note, we still talk about background, method, result, and conclusion, but it is continuous writing. Either structured or unstructured, it has to be similar. The contents have to be similar. Okay. So some journal, they want structured, some unstructured. I would say if we would like to write an abstract, a good abstract, you start with structured first because it will give you the mapping, the ideas that how it should be written. In case if we see that the targeted journal they require an unstructured abstract, we can simply just check out those breakdowns. So it is easy. I would say please structure abstract, please start with a structured abstract. Now introduction, take a look at this. Introduction, maximum 3 to 4 paragraphs and not more than 1,000 words. And make sure that within 100 to 200 words to introduce a topic, the first one, and followed by problem statement. After that, last paragraph, it should be the aim of the study, of the general objective, okay? And it should provide the readers, these are the things, but most, you can ask yourself whether it is well balanced, whether it is current, and whether it is relevant. So that's how we can write a good introduction section. Again, I repeat, maximum 3 to 4 paragraphs, not more than 1,000 words. Only first 100 to 200 words you can write, introduce yourself, which is called background of the study. But followed by should be the problem statements, and last paragraph should be the general objective and aim. Move on to literature review. We know this. Literature review we can divide in terms of empirical and theoretical part. But if it is our deductive research, all of the journals, they ask for a strong theoretical backup. Many cases it happened, we don't have a strong theoretical backup and they reject our paper. So remember this one part is very important. Do not copy and paste with no systematic presentation and logical coherence. Please do not copy paste from your thesis. Do not do so because we understand that what is the requirement of a journal, which is very, very different than our thesis. We know that interpretations and all materials. So other thing, again, I'm not going to read from the slide, but what I can do is this part is very important. At the same time, we have to be very smart. Only the logical flow, only the necessary sections, necessary materials and contents should be presented under this section. Now, materials and method. Sometimes we call it methodology. Okay, this part, we have to describe population and location. We have to describe about study design and sampling method. These two parts are very important. Other than that, research paradigm, research approach, those are the things we may skip inside our paper. But we have to provide the list of the questionnaires for this study and from where it is adopted or adapted or developed. Sometimes journals, they ask for it. So we take a preparation in case they ask, we may have to provide this. One more technical part, please listen this part very carefully. If you present EFA, exploratory factor analysis, if you present the pattern matrix or the rotated component matrix table, then you may not have to present or provide the questionnaire. You know why? Because in that part in EFA, we somehow give the ideas of the instrument. But if you do not present EFA, especially pattern matrix table or rotated component matrix table, then you need to provide this in your article. And we have to write the validation purpose, how the validation has been made, and other part as well, especially the materials and method part. Again, I'm not going to read from the slide, but somehow we understand this part. You see the last one called any measurements that were taken to ensure the safety of the subject should also be reported. Many cases in our thesis also, many students, they don't do so. Please provide this because nowadays we're asking for the students to do ethical form. So ethics form, by doing so, you can do that. But for the article, you don't have to do ethics form. But they may ask for additional consent form or something. We may have to sign. Now, data analysis and findings. Many of us, we only present without understanding that how the data should be presented. This part, please take note. We have several stages here. First one called analysis. Yes, we do analysis by software. After doing analysis, we get numbers or values, the table's output that we get. After that, we have to do an interpretation of those values. What does it mean by Cronbach alpha 0.76, for example? And many of us, by doing so, we feel like that's it. No, this is not all about that. After analysis, we need to do numbers or values, and then we have to do interpretation. After interpretation, we need to do what? We need to do discussion. And finally, we have to come up with justifications. So these are the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 5 steps for your quality manuscript. And of course, for your thesis. Many of us, we only do until stage number 3, which is called interpretation, but we don't discuss that how it works for our research. And we don't justify sometime. No, we have to do justification. That who are the people, past researcher, who has come up with these findings. These findings are in line with who are the people. So these are the 5 stages. If we do so, our analysis part or findings or result part, then there should not be any question for that. Now, discussions and conclusion. This is another part we may not discuss all the time. So I would like to discuss it today. After analysis part, when it comes to conclusion, especially discussion and conclusion part, we should use the modal verb in the discussion. So the modal verb means we have to use the words like may, might, could, can, should, ought to, need to, have to, must, these sort of things. Many of us, we don't know, even though this is a simple rule, but we should practice this inside discussion and conclusion section, especially if you do hypothesis testing. Because if you do hypothesis testing, the things which is found, it is proven, yes, but proven based upon what? It is proven based upon the data that you had, and it is not everything. All right. So we have to know about this, that how this one can be written. Yes, we can provide the suggestions, but doesn't mean that it is confirmed. So we can use may, might, those sort of modal verbs. Now, additional concept. This part is very important, even for our thesis, but I'm talking from article perspective, manuscript perspective. Tables, figures, they are very important, very, very important for our publication. We have to know how to categorize tables. At the same time, we have to know how we can categorize the figures. Tables and figures, they're very important. In your demographic table, for example, male, female, this is like gender, education, or other thing. Many people, they put it separately in their thesis. Yes, in certain extent, it is acceptable, but when it comes to the article, it is not acceptable. So you have to merge all those information into one table. Or sometimes they don't need table. You have to explain only verbally. Same goes to figure. Do not present all the output figures, but you need to know which output figures we have to present. Even maps. Those who are doing IT research, maybe you have to use sometimes the map, the locational map and everything, just like Google Map. Please use good resolution and DPI, good quality of the image. Then we have, okay, we discussed about images already. Now data plots, we discussed about that, and maps, just now we have discussed about the maps. So those are additional concern. And we have to remember a perfect article always brings together the 2 key elements, theory and practicality, with contributions, implications, and knowledge creation. But make sure that even though this is contribution, we have to write managerial contribution. Sometimes we have to come up with commercialization. It depends on our research. Even though commercialization is not a part of our thesis maybe, but if you would like to publish our journal, we must write commercialization if it is technology based, how you'd like to marketize the things. With this, I'd like to say thank you very much.